Hereby call the Iberia Parish Council meeting of December 12th to order. It is now 6:02. Mr. Gonsalas is going to do the prayer.
Gonsalas, huh? We'll open our meeting with the Lord's Prayer. In the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen.
Mr. Dugas, the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Tommy Pollard. Here. Michael Landry. Here. Tommy Landry. Here. Lloyd Brown. Here. Warren Goshasang. Here. Natalie Broussard. Here. Paul Landry.
Here.
Ricky Gonsalas.
Here.
Joe Dugas.
Here.
Eugene Olivier.
Here.
Brian Napier.
Here.
Berwick Francis.
Here.
Marty Traha.
Here.
Chad Mottram.
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum. I need a motion and a second to go into public comments. I have a motion by Ms. Broussard, a second by Mr. Brown. Roll call. Brian. Okay, that motion passes. We're now in public comments. Item number 1, comments from the general public on non-agenda items. A, Ms. Khadisha Rashad to address the council regarding the racial makeup of Iberia Parish government employees. Ms. Rashad, are you here? Not seeing anybody. We'll go on to item number 2, comments from the general public on agenda items. Person to be considered for appointment to parish boards, commissions, or to address the council. First person up is Ms. Alice Robichaud. Ms. Robichaud is talking about Iberia veterans.
Good evening. I'm Alice Robichaud, as Mr. Landry stated. I'm applying for the Veterans Memorial Board. I would like for y'all to really consider me. I'm a veteran's daughter. He served in World War II. I belong to the VFW. I was auxiliary president for 44 years and other organizations. So please consider me when you vote. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up is Mr. Nathan Mitchell with Planning and Zoning, number 222.
Good afternoon. Nathaniel Mitchell, Planning and Zoning. I'm up for a reappointment. Just want to come in and just say that the board as it stands now is, I guess, the best it's been in years. Everyone is very knowledgeable about the business that we're doing, and we're just trying to keep it running in the direction that it's going in. And I was told that I had to come into the lion's den tonight, and meet the lions, so
No.
David's in the lion's den.
Mr. Mitchell, this is the full council. The Lions Den is Planning and Zoning.
Oh, that's the Planning and Zoning. All right, I had it backwards. Well, I would appreciate your vote for it.
Next up, we have Mr. Calvin Arrington, also with, he's with Recreation and Playground. Mr. Calvin?
Good evening. My name is Calvin R. Arrington, Jr. I was born June 27, 1949 in Columbia, South Carolina. This is now my home after having served 23 years with the United States Air Force. And I got lucky and met a young lady from this area in October 1976 in Germany. Her name is Alina Rose Verdun. She is currently my wife. We've been married now for 41 years. I'm a graduate from C.A. Johnson High School out of Columbia, South Carolina. That was May 1967. I have served the United States Air Force from June 68 until August of 1991. I then went to work for a private firm, Alexander Construction LLC, serving that position as general manager for 4 years. Left there, the wife talked me into coming back here to Louisiana. I had my brothers about it, but now that I'm here, I couldn't have made a better choice. I got back here in January 1994, went to work for the United States Postal Service in February 1995, and worked there at Progress. I served on the Associate Supervisor Program for Management Training and was promoted to Postmaster in 1999. And from that position there that I was at Centerville, I left from Centerville, went to Baldwin. And I stayed at Baldwin until I retired May 12, 2012. I currently am not working and bringing money in the house, but I'm active in my area. I'm post commander for Post 4201 in Franklin, Louisiana. Also served on our chairman board for the parish of St. Nicholas for 5 years. And then after serving there, I went on working on the management finance board at the church. And I'm currently serving on that board with yours truly, Eugene Olivier. I've been working on the board for the development for Grand Mary for about the past 5 or 6 years. And in the process, we've been attempting to get funding, to get money, to get some things going on. We were told that funding was limited, so we decided to go ahead and beat the bushes ourselves and raise enough money to go ahead and get some things initiated and started. We now have a pavilion with a walking track and also an area that can be used for soccer. And we're now in the process of completing our baseball park, which is roughly about 300 foot of area. So with the rain, has been kind of detriment to us, but however, in working with it, we're going to be working well. And as far as for the position, I'll work to do the best I can to improve things for the community and also make sure we take care of our children and make sure we take care of our seniors. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up, we have Mr. Warren White. He's with the Robert B. Greene, 221.
My name is Warren White. I'm very active in my community. I'm a park commissioner. I'm on various boards, and I'm applying for the Robert B. Greene building board, and I wish y'all consider me being on that board, and I would give 100% like I do in my community and everything else I'm involved in. So that's about it.
Okay, next up is Mr. Larry Nelson, speaking on item 230.
Good evening. Dr. Larry Nelson, anesthesiologist at Iberian Medical Center for several years now. I'm here to ask for your consideration for reappointment to the Hospital District Board. I was unanimously chosen by the Med Exec Committee of the hospital, representing the medical staff, to serve in that capacity with your permission. And again, I'm asking for a recommendation or a consideration from y'all for appointment, reappointment to the board.
Thank you very much, Ms. Nelson.
Thank you.
Next person up is Charlie Rader. He'll be speaking on 227. Mr. Rader, I just noticed you had on here that you had questions. This will be a public comment period, and it won't be a question and answer back and forth.
More than fine, sir. Thank you very
And
much. Appreciate it.
We do have a 3-minute limit.
Okay, my name is Charlie Rader, and I'd like to first begin by thanking the parish president and the administration, along with the council, being able to balance the budget, okay? Everyone was worked very hard. It's unimaginable what everybody had to go through to make our budget balanced, okay? My concern is with the probationary period, okay? I think that y'all are considering to give someone a raise, and I'm all for giving a person a raise, especially if they have exceptional performance. And I'm not questioning that. My question is, if this person had the capabilities from the beginning, why didn't we just do it at the beginning instead of coming back and then giving someone a raise? Are the parish employees receiving a raise? Is the parish president going to receive a raise? I'm just wondering, so that means we're going to decline the raise, the 2.5%? I'm just real concerned. I'm real concerned about giving a person a raise. And the probationary period is just a clause which allows you the ability to always give a raise. And I'm just concerned about that because things are really tight. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Okay.
Rader. Okay, now we're looking for a motion and a second to go back into regular session. I have a motion by Mr. Gonsalas, a second by Mr. Napier. Roll call. Okay, we're now back in regular session. Reports, finance, and administrative action, we have none. Reports, parish and other governmental agencies. Monthly building report dated November 2018 was in your packet. Public Works reports, Public Works Department report for closed work orders dated November 4th to 10th and November 25th to December 1st. They were in your packets. Special business, we have none. Council member announcements. Do we have any councilmen that have any months? Okay, first up is Mr. Dugas.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to give a shout out to the mayor of Laurelville. They did a Christmas celebration in Laurelville over the Christmas holiday. It was very well attended, and like I said, I want to give a shout out to Mayor Brad Clifton of Laurelville for doing a good job in throwing that celebration. Thank you.
Okay, looks like we have no other comments from the council. Okay, we'll move on to parish president's announcements. Mr. Richard.
Okay, first I'd like to start off by giving congratulations to Catholic High School football team for their season this year, making it all the way to the Dome again. We wasn't successful this year like last year, but congratulations goes out to them again. Litter abatement. On December the 1st, we had 3 people that attend for the Berry Parish Litter Abatement Program. We picked up 12 bags of trash, box springs, and about 20 pounds of cardboard. And all of this was picked up on OLA 25 and Lee Station Road. We had bid openings that was held on Tuesday for the demolition of the house in the back on Providence. We received 1 bid. That bid came in at $3,640. Bid openings was also received on Tuesday for the renovations of the Public Works facility. We received 6 bids. Actually, I was trying to get everything squared away to give to the council at the next parish council meeting, all of the tabulations and exactly what's going to be going on, but I noticed in the paper yesterday that they had a whole lot of stuff written about the tabulations of the bid, but still in all, I'm going to have you for your package to look at everything that's taking place with the Public Works Facility building. Miss Ann Bro resigned from the Lydia Veterans Memorial Building, and Miss Ann and her husband George, they were responsible for booking the Lydia Memorial Building when people wanted to rent it, and George would actually go out and cut the grass. So we are in the process right now of trying to find someone to be able to handle that. Bid openings were held Tuesday for the foundation work at the Robert B. Green at the Robert B. Green building. We received 1 bid from 1 company that was for $59,000 plus. So we still looking at it. I'm not exactly sure. So legal is going to review it. If they actually, where's Michael? Is Michael around here? If they had the guarantee, they're planning on guaranteeing the work. They didn't put it, we want to make sure that the work that they're talking about doing is actually going to be guaranteed. Public Works for the last week, 2 weeks, cleaning culverts in District 5, District 10, District 13, culvert inspections in District 3, field drainage, work in District 10, District 13, and District 14. Roadside drainage work in District 5, 6, and 8. We did some road patching in District 2, 3, 8, 9, 10, 11, 13, and 14. Road repairs in District 6. Side booming on field ditches in District 2, District 9, 10, 11, 13, and 14, and some shoulder work in District 9. I think that's enough. We got a pretty good sized meeting, so. But I do want to talk to you a little bit later when we get to the deal about the commercial canal. I want to explain to you what we're trying to do right there. It's just for the most part, it's trying to inform the council on what we're trying to do at Commercial Canal. But I'll talk about that when we get to that item. Thank you.
Okay, now we're on to consent agenda items, but we have none. Ordinance introduced for public hearing, we have none. Resolutions introduced for public hearing and adoption. Summary number 219, introduced by the clerk of the council. A resolution appointing Ms. Alice Robichaud to the New Iberia Veterans Memorial Building Board for a 5-year term to fill a vacancy created by the expiration of term of Mr. Charles Norman, whose terms expires January 26, 2019. I have a motion by Mr. Gonsalas, a second by Mr. Gashasan. Mr. Gonsalas?
I waive.
Mr. Gashasan? No further talk. Roll call. That motion passes. Summary number 220, introduced by the clerk of the council, a resolution appointing one member to the Iberia Parish Recreation and Playground Commission representing an at-large position for a 5-year term to fill the vacancy created by the expiration of a term of Ms. Dorothy Neal Gother, whose term expires January 14, 2019. Appointment applications received from Calvin Arrington and Ms. Dorothy Neal Goche. Go ahead and get your district papers out, and yes, November 28th. Yep. So we're voting on item number 220. You know, yes. Miss Dorothy, could you stand up? Yeah, Miss Dorothy Smoke, yeah, November 28th. Yeah, 28th. Okay. District number 1, Calvin. District number 2, Calvin. District number 3, Calvin. District 4, Calvin. District 5, Calvin. District 6, Ms. Goche. District 7, Ms. Goche. District 8, Goche. District 9, Calvin. District 10, Calvin. District 11, Goche. District 12, Calvin. District 13, Goche. District 14, Goche. The vote comes out, Mr. Arrington has 8 votes and Ms. Goche has 6. So, Mr. Arrington, you'll be on the Park and Recreation Board. Congratulations. Okay. Thank you, Ms. Goche, for your years of service. Summary number 221, introduced by the clerk of the council, a resolution appointing one member to the Robert B. Green Memorial Building Board for a 5-year term to fill a vacancy created by the expiration of the term of Mrs. Laverne Rachel DeRab, whose term expires February 27, 2019. Appointment applications received from Mr. Dehab and Mr. Warren Seabright. So that we go on with the... So we do it on the board. Okay, what we're gonna do, we're gonna vote on the board up or down. Mr. Warren White was the only one that has showed up and spoken, so what we'll be doing is voting on Mr. Warren White. A yes is for Mr. Warren, a no would be to cast a vote against him. So, everybody understand what the role is? Okay. I need a motion and a second. I have a motion by Michael Landry, a second by Mr. Napier. Mr. Michael? Mr. Napier? Okay. No further discussion, roll call.
Because you don't have it up.
Okay, that motion passes. Mr. Warren White will now be on the Robert B. Greene Memorial.
Summary number 20. That's the wrong.
Summary number 222, introduced by the clerk of the council, a resolution appointing
She's one
Mr.
behind.
Nathan Mitchell to the Iberia Regional Planning Commission for a 5-year term to fill the vacancy created by the expiration of the term of Mr. Nathan Mitchell, whose term expires on February 25th, 2019. Okay, we have one candidate, so this will be an up or down vote. So we have a motion by Mr. Brown, a second by Mr. Gonsalas. Mr. Brown? Mr. Gonsalas?
I waive.
Okay, roll call. Mr. Brown? No, vote. That motion passes. Mr. Nathan, you're back on the planning and zoning. Summary number 223, introduced by the clerk of the council, a resolution providing for canvassing the returns and declaring the results of a special election held in the parish of Iberia, state of Louisiana, on Saturday, November 6, 2018, which failed to authorize the levy of sales and use tax 3/4 proposed for road improvements. Have a motion by Ms. Broussard, a second by Mr. Trahan. Ms. Broussard?
Wait.
Mr. Trahan? Roll call. Mr. Brown? Okay, that motion passes. Summary number 224, introduced by the clerk of the council, a resolution announcing the regular meetings of the Iberia Parish Council to be held for fiscal year 2019. Have a motion by Ms. Broussard, a second by Mr. Olivier. Ms. Broussard? Okay. Mr. Olivier? Roll call. Ricky? Tommy? Okay, that motion passes. Summary number 225, introduced by the clerk of the council, a resolution approving the holding of an election in the Teche Vermilion Freshwater District of the state of Louisiana on Saturday, May 4th, 2019, to authorize the renewal of a special tax therein. I have a motion by Mr. Trahan, a second by Mr. Olivier. Mr. Trahan? Mr. Olivier? I guess I'm just, everybody's up to date on what this tax is for? Okay, roll call. Tommy? That motion passes. Summary number 226, introduced by the clerk of the council, a resolution authorizing a contract for the Record Video Service LLC, DBA Bob Larowski Production for the videoing of council meetings for a 1-year period effective January 1st through December 31st, 2019. Note, option 1 or 2 for the proposal needs to be selected. Have a motion by Ms. Broussard, a second by Mr. Gonsalas. Ms. Broussard?
Yes, I just have one question. Do we know if the city purchased the equipment, the digital players?
They agreed to.
They agreed to?
In fact, we have a cooperative endeavor agreement prepared, Brenda prepared between the city and us to provide for them buying one and us buying one.
Okay, so that was my question, because I think that we should probably go with the proposed annual budget number 2 if the city was willing to buy one of the things, but if we had to buy both of them, then option number 1 would have been the best one. So I would recommend that we go with the proposed annual budgeted amount of number 2, which is $9,270 per year.
Mr. Gonsalas?
I'll second Natalie's request. Is that a substitute motion you're making, or you just recommend?
Yes, we have to substitute to determine
Yeah.
which,
So are you making a substitute?
yes.
Okay, well, I'll second a substitute.
Okay. Any further discussion? Roll call. That motion passes with the substitute for option number 2. Summary number 227, introduced by the parish president, a resolution authorizing a 6-month probationary period increase for the Director of Permits, Planning, and Zoning from $66,000 to $69,300, all in accordance with Section 4-05.H. of the Personnel Policy for Administrative Employees. Have a motion by Mr. Gonsalas, a second by Michael Landry. Mr. Gonsalas?
I'll waive.
Mr. Michael Landry? Mr. Brown?
Yes, when, you might remember when we hired the planning and zoning director, we followed the employees manual, and the employees manual dictates what we do. And when we hired her at the $66,000 when we came to the council. And the probation period is 6 months. You either can give 2.5% pay increase at the end of 3 months, or wait the whole 6 months. We elected to wait the whole 6 months, and that's what this is.
Oh, okay. That's good. Good.
Mr. Gashase?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I just want to express that I'm not going to be in support of this tonight. I didn't know beforehand that a raise was coming down the road in that when we hired her. Do I think she has been a breath of fresh air for this parish? Absolutely. And my vote tonight against this is in no way a reflection of her job duties that she's performed so far in this parish. I just think with the way things are going with the layoffs at the parish board and the way the strain is on the general fund, we're going to find ourselves in a pickle down the road with the way these wages are getting out of control. But again, needless to say, I'm not going to support it tonight, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Napier?
Surely Warren said it, but I just want to go on the record. Surely Sarah, she deserves more than that, really. But surely when you're running a business and when you're in a situation where money's tight, and like Mr. Gashassan said, you're going to be having some layoffs and nobody else is getting a raise. Again, I'm like Mr. Gashassan, I didn't know that, whether it's our fault or not, for not knowing that there was a probationary period and her raise, or that a raise would come in 6 months. It's just her being the only one. I have a problem with that. Not about her work, or because she really deserves more than that. But at this time, I'm gonna be like Mr. Gosh saying, I can't support it. And hopefully next year we can do something for her. But Mr. Chairman, I won't be supporting it either. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Dugan?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to say ditto to the two guys before me. Ms. Gary certainly turned that, from what I can see, turned that department around and is doing some good things. But it's tough right now. We have to be ultra conservative with our dollars right now, because who knows what next year is going to bring. It may even be worse right now. So I'd rather err on the side of safety and caution, and so I'm not going to support it either. Thank you.
Okay, next up, Mr. Gonsalas.
I think I'll echo the statements of some of my fellow colleagues. I think, she's an asset to the parish, a huge asset, and but I think a statement was made tonight that, we are proving balanced budgets year in and year out. And to balance a budget takes tough decisions. We made some extremely tough decisions, very hard decisions that we don't all agree on, but we are in the best interest of this parish, and I think those little steps are going to create opportunities in the future for us, and I just like to be a little bit more conservative. Thank you.
Okay,
And
any
if I
other
can say one
discussion?
more thing?
Yes,
If no
Ms.
one else has
Richard.
anything to say? Listen, I understand what all of the counselors are saying. Believe me, we look at these numbers every day. And the fact of the matter is, when she got hired on, this was what was said to her. So that's the reason for doing what we're doing. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Richard, and I'll go on the record, I will be in support of this. So, no other people up on here, roll call? Okay, that motion passes 8-6, okay. Summary number 228, introduced by Eugene Olivier, District 10, a resolution amending the 2018 blank fund budget in the appropriate amount of $180,000 to install flood control flap gates along South Lewis Street at Commercial Canal. Have a motion by Mr. Trahan, a second by Mr. Olivier. Mr. Trahan.
Be short.
Okay. Basically, what I'm trying to do here, council, is make you aware of the conditions that we actually have on Lewis Street around the port area. RK Pipe, Port Quick Shop, these particular companies flood when high tide comes, not when it's some type of storm. And the reason they're flooding is because the road sits here and you have a pipe that sits really low. And when you have a high tide, when the water come in, it fills the pipe up, go across the street and flood these businesses out. But really what I'm after doing right here is trying to make sure that we can actually use these funds from GoMesa to do these types of projects. So what I'm trying to do right now is just to get your permission and make you aware that we're trying to save these businesses in that particular area from flooding. I know I spoke to one of the business owners, and he's very concerned that if he gets flooded once again, they may his insurance company may drop him. So we're looking to try to do what we can to help these particular companies in that area. I was hoping to have the engineering company that went out there and looked at the pipes to put the flap gates to be here tonight, but they're not here. They can't make it tonight. This is not a project we're getting ready to do. Just so you know, this is something where I'm trying to find out if we can actually use the dollars from GoMesa on that particular type of project. So it's really more about information to you than anything else. I do have a letter from Sellers and Associates, who is the company that went out, and I can read the letter to. I just got it at 3:30. I know you guys are going to say why I didn't get it. When I got it at 3:30, I did email it to Brenda somewhere when I came back in my office around 4 something. And basically, if you want me to read it, I can read this letter to you guys. There's only one paragraph for the most part.
Please, Mr. Richard.
Okay. As requested by Berry Parish government, this is coming from Sellers and Associates, we are prepared to propose plan to install flap gates on the west side of St. Louis culverts between Highway 90 and Port Road, as shown on an enclosed area map that you guys are going to get a chance to look at when you get back and review your mill. Again, this is not something that I'm getting ready to go out and hire a company to do, but I don't want you guys to be aware of what it is that we're trying to do, or where these funds are trying to come from. And those funds I'm trying to get from GoMesa and not use our drainage dollars. If properly maintained, these flap gates will eliminate the backflow of water due to rising water in Commercial Canal, which will reduce the water into adjoining properties on the east side of St. Louis Street as a result of rainfall, winds, and tides. The gates will be ineffective if water reaches the top of Lewis Street. We already know that. The proposed flap gates will not adversely affect drainage along Commercial Canal, either upstream or downstream, to the sides of the drainage area upstream of the culverts and to the tidal influence of the Commercial Canal. Now, this is from the engineer of Sellers and Associates. Of course, he have to stamp this. They recommended me not to pay an engineer to go out and do rides, because what they're doing here is not going to affect anything going down. So that's where we're at right now.
Okay,
But again, it's just for your information as to what it is I'm trying to do.
Okay. Mr. Trahan, you still have the floor. You have anything else?
Oh, hold on. Brooke, did you want to speak? Did you turn in a paper to speak? Can I reserve my time for?
Sure.
Thank you. Go ahead. Oh, okay.
Thank you for this opportunity to speak to you again. I spoke to you all, I think, the last meeting. And what I would like to say is that there's 2 or 3 businesses that have opened up shop, if you want to call it, on the east side of Lewis Street. One of being Mr. Jimmy Grabwa, who is utilizing one of the buildings for some research and development. In the last month, he's rented a large facility, the entire facility, which used to be the old, I think, oldest training center. There's about 5 other businesses that have told me that, you know, every year we have to go through this flooding due to tidal surge or due to high tide. And I think this will be one step forward that will make this parish realize that with the proper funding and the proper planning, we can alleviate some things that keep people here in Iberia Parish. What I'm afraid of is the next. I've gotten to a point where I'm insurance broke. I can't afford flood insurance anymore. It's $19,800 a year for flood insurance where I'm at, with a $20,000 deductible, and I no longer can afford that under the current conditions. RK Pipe and numerous other businesses stated the same thing. This is a simple solution to our problem. I think the engineering has been done correctly and will prove to that point. If we get a Category 3, it's understandable. The water would come over the top of Lewis Street. But then again, there'll be a lot of other businesses all along the Gulf Coast, if not all along our parishes, will be flooded out anyway. So this is just something that really takes care of the issues. And I appreciate Marty and our Mr. Olivier and our parish president looking into this. They came out, did a study, engineering study to make sure that nobody else was affected or adversely affected. So thank you for the opportunity to speak, and I hope we get it passed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Trahant, we're still with you. Mr. Olivier.
Thank you, Chairman. I also had the opportunity in the last few weeks or so to get in touch with Paul Nakane from St. Mary Parish, and also Bo, the Chief Executive Officer over there. They utilize these floodgates, throughout the parish, St. Mary Parish, and they do have some good impact, good results from these floodgates, flapper gates. So I think it's a situation where I think here on the Commercial Canal, they'll work. I do understand some of us do have some concerns about the engineering of it and the specifications, but if y'all want to talk to the engineer, what I'd like to do, Paul, is move the table list tonight, and maybe Larry can have the engineer show up at the next meeting.
Absolutely.
And we'll go ahead and continue this conversation.
And one other
answer
thing,
some of your questions.
if I can.
Go ahead.
Yes.
And if the council want me to get an engineering study per se to do the rise, I have no problem. But you're going to have to give me some money in the drainage from the drainage fund to do. Exactly. So he's saying that we don't need to do it, but if you want me to, I have no problem. But you're just going to have to know that I'm taking money from drainage to do it.
Okay.
That's about it.
Mr. Olivier, I'm going to hold your table for a second. I have a couple more.
Okay.
Mr. Goshasan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Larry, I'm a bit confused. You want us to get the information out, and I'm seeing a resolution to amend the budget of $180,000.
Yeah, I noticed how it's written myself.
So, and I agree with Mr. Olivier, we do need to table this because I think there's a lot of key factors in before we go and make some kind of planning like this. I do agree with Mr. Duncan. I mean, those businesses, they deserve protection too there. But we do have people upstream, and there's no certificate that says there's no rise to happen.
Exactly, and that's what I'm telling you right now. What he did is he wrote a letter, and he's going to come back. If we can table this until the next meeting.
I think we need more time than that.
Yeah.
I think.
You don't want to do it next week? No?
Well, I mean, I think there's a lot of key players upstream that would like to be involved in that conversation, because I mean, I've several of them are here tonight from different parts of neighborhoods: Curtis subdivision, Briarwood, Southwood subdivision. We need to know exactly what the effects are. I mean, I think we've had issues on Briarwood.
How about
where
if we
we've
do
met.
this? How
Go
about
ahead,
if we have
sorry.
a meeting? Maybe I can get Craig to go to like Halliburton like we did
Okay.
with your meetings, and
Yeah.
we can have the engineers to go there, and we can all sit down and everybody can talk about it.
Sure.
This, again, the only thing I'm trying to do is make the council aware of I'm trying to seek funds. So this needs to be tabled because it shouldn't be approved like that.
Can you still seek those funds without passing this resolution tonight?
I'm still going to
Okay.
continue to try to get the funds. No, this is not, we don't need a budget adjustment. So basically what I'm trying to do, Warren, is just make everyone aware that we're trying to move forward with getting this particular matter handled, but I'm trying not to have to use the money from the drainage fund.
Okay, so let me ask you, maybe I'm not understanding much because, you know, there was very little information provided. Are we trying to protect that particular part of the port from stormwater? Or
trying to-
like, as in a storm surge,
No,
or
sir.
just a
Regular
rainfall with a high
We're
tide?
just talking about a regular high tide.
Okay.
If you have, first of all, that's not going to protect, what the engineers are saying is not going to do anything negatively
Okay.
downstream or upstream. Because
And he's
basic-
comfortable saying that without even,
Well, he's an engineer and he got a stamp, you know, so if he writes something and he actually saying something that's not correct, he's a professional engineer. But I'd like that engineer to come here and talk to you. But basically what's happening, if you think of it this way, you have a road base right here, and you have your pipe that's going under the road that might be a foot or two lower.
okay,
And whenever the regular tide water come in, not rain, just a regular tide come in, it gets to that pipe and the water go across the street. And when the water go across the street, that's what's flooding R&K Pipe and these other companies. So the only thing that flap is gonna do is flap, it's gonna close it.
okay.
Is gonna let that water get up, you know, to whatever the height is. Once that water gets to the height of the street, it's automatically gonna go across, like, it's just gonna go across because the water is higher than the particular road. But it won't affect anything going farther down, as far as going way to Highway 90 or anything like that. And it won't affect anything that's coming from the port.
Okay.
Because the port is actually downstream, so. But I'd rather get an engineer to come here and explain that to everyone. Or actually get an engineer to go to Halliburton and we can actually talk.
We can definitely get a site if you want to get together on that.
Just let me know when you
We'd
want.
definitely like more information
Not a
that
problem.
protects both parties.
Not a problem. And again, this is about trying to get the monies to where we won't be taking the money from the drainage fund. and trying
Mr.
to
Chairman,
protect them at the same time.
I do not have a problem with the gentleman's to table.
I'm gonna go get back to get the wording. I also have Mr. Dugas.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Richard, just for clarification, what's the urgency of getting it passed? in
There's no
this
urgency.
budget?
It's I'm trying to inform you as to what's going
Well,
on.
but the agenda item says you're
I see what it
requesting
says.
funds from 2018.
I see what it's saying. That's what we're
So-
saying. That's not correct.
Okay.
We don't have a problem tabling because we need to change the language.
I'm good. Okay, thank you.
It's no urgency. It's information, trying to let you know what we're doing.
Mr. Gosselin.
Yeah, I think, you know, I hear the comments from you guys, but I think as an elected official sitting behind there trying to make decisions, I think we ought to do our due diligence towards our businesses and our residents. I think we need to, you know, see what both of the effects are gonna be and make sure it's proactive for the businesses, because at the end of the day, we gotta have our businesses for this community to
Absolutely.
survive, and we need our residents to be protected as well. And as
And I
a
couldn't agree
former
more.
in Iberia Parish, I use these structures all along People's Coulee. They work to maximum efficiency if they've installed correctly. I see no problem, but I would like to hear from engineer and make sure that it doesn't affect residents in the neighborhoods and move forward.
I agree with you.
So,
And that's all I'm trying to do, because all of the drainage work that we're gonna be doing moving forward, we're trying to stay in line with CPR. We don't have a levy district anymore for the most part. So I'm trying to stay in line with the levy, with the plan that CPRA came up with. So every drainage project that I'm gonna do, you're gonna know about it. You know, and if I'm getting funds that's coming from the drainage fund balance, you're gonna know about it. If I'm trying to use fund from Go Mesa or from the Restore Act, you're gonna know about it. So this is all I'm trying to do, is inform you as to what it is we're trying to do to protect these businesses, at the same time trying not to use Iberia Parish money from our drainage
Yeah,
fund.
and I agree with you. I think, you know, there's a significant problem that I can attest to, you know,
Yes.
working in that area. And, you know, if we sit back and do nothing, then we
can't
can
do
expect nothing.
You can't
But
do
if we try to be proactive and try to make some adjustments to protect our businesses as well as our residents, then down the road, we can sure seem to help both entities at one. But like Warren said, we're gonna make sure our residents are protected, but at the same time, we gotta do what's right for our businesses
Exactly.
and make them thrive and be successful.
That's all I'm trying to do, is educate everyone, including the council. So I want you all to know
Mr.
first.
Duncan would like the floor.
Thank you.
Come on, Mr. Duncan, I'll recognize you.
I've been a member of this parish all my life, and what I'd like to say is, maybe to quell a little bit of the concern, we've been at this location 18 years, and we've seen numerous storms. We've been through it all. What I want everybody to understand is, before it would start affecting anybody upstream, the water's going to come over Crochet Road. Okay, so there's your safety valve. It's to the point that we would be safe until it would reach that level. And the engineer would probably show you that, and it would ease a lot of people's concern about, oh, well, if we put these flap gates, we're going to flood New Iberia.
No.
That's not going to happen. It'll come over Crochet Road before that even happens. So just let the engineer's facts speak for themselves.
There you go. If I can add one more thing, Warren,
Go ahead,
do you
Mr.
think you can
Yep.
try to have that next week?
If it's not Halliburton, definitely, but maybe the school.
Okay, next week, you think?
I will work on it.
Thank you. Let me know. Yeah, because if we can use the funds from Go Mesa, we really want, and everyone buy into what's going on as far as the engineers, we really want to try to do this before the next hurricane season or before.
Oh, I agree with you.
Okay.
completely. I think it's in their business.
It is.
But I want to just, if I can, Mr. Chairman, just
Yes.
say to Mr. Duncan and those businesses there, I'm not against any of that. I just want all players that
We
know
understand.
exactly what's going on. I think that's just a legitimate concern. I
Right.
think once we're in the room, we can determine more of the evidence that's out there, because we've had very little been given to us, because he's just received.
Well, the thing about it is, I just want to make sure that whatever I'm doing, the council is aware before we actually get it done. So this is not something that I'm planning on doing next week, but I want the council to know what's going on. So you're right, you haven't gotten anything. No one's gotten anything. We just in the preliminary stages. Thank you.
Okay, next, Mr. Tommy Landry.
Larry, just like to ask you, is this 180, is that a,
The estimate came in, I think,
Estimate.
around, what was it, 160? The estimate came in at 169, but this is Go Mesa Fund, Gulf
Right.
of Mexico Fund from BP. So we saying 180 because we really don't know. And if it
So-
would be
and-
170, we'll put the 10,000
and it
back
won't
into
be
the
like
fund
an
balance.
80/20 or anything like that?
No, sir.
Okay, good.
100% funded from Go Mesa.
Okay, Mr. Olivier?
Larry, you have enough time, second meeting in January to bring this back?
Yeah, well, actually, what we're
wanna
going
do
we
it
can
in
do
the
the
first?
first meeting if you want. But what we're
y'all
going to
can
try to
put that
do,
together
Warren going to
before the
try to
first
get this
meeting?
thing
Once I secure the location, I'll get
Okay.
with you. Y'all
Right.
can be determined.
right.
So my motion on the floor to table to the first meeting in January. There's no
January
other
Okay.
comments. yeah.
January 9th.
It's
Thank
okay
you.
with the second?
And hopefully, now you got to understand. Hopefully, by that time, I'll have some assurance that we can actually use Go Mesa funds for that particular project. So we'll see what happens.
Okay, so just to
Thank
let
you.
everybody know, what we're going to be doing here is voting on a substitute motion to table till the first week of January.
Thank you,
No other-
guys. Appreciate it.
Marty was the second. No further discussion, roll call. Ricky. That motion passes on the table. Summary number 229, introduced by the clerk of the council, a resolution accepting the resignation of Mr. Tommy Granger as a member of the Iberia Parish Planning and Zoning Commission, effective immediately. I have a motion by Mr. Napier, a second by Ms. Broussard. Mr. Napier.
Yeah, I just want to take this opportunity to thank Mr. Tommy Granger for his years of service on the commission, and wish him well in his endeavors. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, no further discussion, roll call. That motion passes. Summary number 230, introduced by Paul G. Landry, District 7, a resolution appointing one member to the Iberia Parish Hospital Service District Number 1 Board, representing the medical staff for a 4-year term to fill a vacancy created by the expiration of term of Dr. Larry Nelson, whose term expires December 27, 2018. Application of Dr. Larry Nelson was received from the Executive Committee of Medical Staff. All applications of interest were not forwarded for consideration as required by Section 2-42 of compiled ordinances. Other interested applicants are Doctors David C. Benson and Jose A. Mata. I have a motion by Mr. Gonsalas, a second by Mr. Napier. Mr. Gonsalas.
Yeah, I'd like to table this request tonight based on some information that we need to discuss further with the legal team. So I'm requesting the table tonight to the January 9th meeting.
Okay, I have Mr. Napier.
I agree with Mr. Gonzalez.
Okay, next up is Ms. Broussard.
Yeah, Mr. Gonsalas, if you would be so kind as to let me modify your motion. I would like to table it to that meeting But with that table, it would be sending it back to the medical staff for them to reopen the application process. I would request that our council clerk advertise the position in the Daily Iberian, as well as request that the hospital advertise. I think legal has already prepared the notice for the vacancy. We would use that notice and have it posted in the doctor's lounge and anywhere else in the hospital that any interested applicants would see it, and that when the recommendation comes back, it comes back with all applicants of interest in accordance with our ordinances.
Okay, I'm gonna keep going. I have Mr. Brown. Mr. Brown?
Well, I want to know if you all right with.
Yes, I'm fine.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I have nothing to say. It's good.
Okay, so no further discussions. We're voting on a table. Ricky tabled, Brian was the second, and table to January 9th with all the substitute Ms. Broussard said. Everybody's okay? Roll call. That motion passes. We had one abstain with Mr. Trahan. Okay, move to adjourn, roll call.
See you.
We're gonna take a 5